And I want to just highlight a few creative ways to use your site. So as you're building your site, you can use it to host your portfolio. So the writing you're doing, the beautiful images that you're creating, the videos, the podcast audio, all of the stuff you're creating, yes, it can live on those external platforms, but it can also be in a place that you curate and is a home for the best of your work in the form of a portfolio. You can create a listicle. There's really some nice templates, for example, that Tilda has for top 10 stories, for example. And those are really, really nice for showing the highlights of something, the best, most interesting things of the year, or the most interesting restaurants in a place or locations in a particular destination. And that's a great way to include additional content in your site or to highlight some of the topic that you're focusing on. Obviously showcasing multimedia, embedding beautiful visuals and videos and GIFs and images. Highlighting posts from other platforms, other content that you're creating on Twitter or on Medium. There's nice, simple ways to embed that content right on your site. And that's a nice way to allow people to see the work you're doing without necessarily having to always jump off. Obviously, you can link to those platforms, but you can also embed the content so people can see it right within your site. It's a nice way to embed your to update your site regularly also without having to manually add content all the time to your site. If you do want to manually add content, you can definitely do that with a blog post series or a series of news items within your site. That can also be a way of updating people on what you're doing. My tip on this one is not to plan to do that necessarily on a very, very frequent basis, because that can just be a recipe for burning out or for not being able to sustain that over the long run. So I encourage you to think carefully about whether you might publish those monthly. If you can do them every other week, that's also a possibility. If you do them weekly, make sure they're short and or curated so that you're not having to create constant new content while you're doing all of the other things that you do. If that's not the pure focal point of all your work. Finally, you can use your site to host events, whether they're online gatherings or in-person gatherings. The event page templates are really often really great, and it's a great way to connect people who are already interested in your work to enable them to connect with you in other contexts, either in person or online. You can sell online products from your site. That's another way for creators to use their site really effectively, selling ebooks, templates, tip sheets, resources, other things that you can sell right from your site. And to the extent that you're trying to monetize what you're doing, this can be a way to supplement the revenue you're earning on one of those external platforms, for example. When you're building your site and thinking about who your viewers are going to be, I encourage you to think about a few different kinds of people checking out your work online as a creator. First, your potential clients, so people you're actually hoping will hire you. Potential partners, people you want to work with and collaborate with, potentially people who may hire you in the future. So you want to have content that really highlights what your capabilities are for people who may be interested in hiring you in the future. People who want to follow you and discover your work, whatever platform you're working on or whatever media type or format. You want them to be able to find out what you do and how you do it. And yourself. You know, a lot of us have most of us have some degree of imposter syndrome, right? We see our flaws more visibly than we sometimes see our strengths, and we know all of the things we don't do or all of our failings or shortcomings. But sometimes it's helpful to have a site to remind ourselves of what we've actually done and who we are, and to help combat imposter syndrome, and to remind ourselves that yes, we do have credibility, we do have capabilities and strengths, and we do have something to offer the world. So the site can serve as a way to remind yourself of your own value.